Hello, everyone. This is another Black Conservative. I am Ryan Bolin. Thank you all for joining me. So I'm pretty sure a lot of conservatives, and this would include myself to some extent, but I didn't put myself up there really like really, this is what it's going to be. But a lot of conservatives are pretty disappointed that there was not a red wave, okay? It was more or less a red trickle, like one commentator said, one YouTuber said. It was pretty comical. And there wasn't this red wave. So a lot of people are kind of disappointed at this reality. But that raised a question in my mind. Why wasn't there a red wave? Because clearly a vast majority of the Democrats' policies are bat crazy. You have people that are Democrat, that have voted Democrat, and that are Democrat, that have voted Democrat, that are looking at the Democratic Party and like, man, you guys are way off kilter here. So why wasn't there a red wave if that's a fact? Well, as the title of the article the title of this article suggests, and the title of this video suggests, can we say Generation X and the millennials? Now you say, how in the world is they to blame? We're going to read this article, and I'm going to give you why I believe that there was not this general red wave that took place. So let's get into this. And the article starts off, voters between the age of 18 and 29 cast their ballots in favor of Democrats 63% of the time in the 2020 elections, exit polling data found. Let me read that again. Voters between the ages of 18 and 29 cast their ballots in favor of Democrats, get this now, 63% of the time in the 2022 elections, exit polling data found. Data from the NBC exit polls found that the demographic comprised of Generation X and the millennials voted 63% for Democrats and just 35% for the Republicans. What's going on here, right? I'm going to give you my reasons why I believe that's the case after I read some of this portion of this article. But let's go on. The age demographic accounted for 12% of the electorate, in contrast to those aged 30 to 44, who made up 21% of the electorate and voted 51% for Democrats and 47% for Republicans, the exit poll data found. Meanwhile, those between the ages of 45 and 64 made up 39% of the electorate and voted 44% for the Democrats and 54% for the Republicans. So you see the age difference here? The ones 45 and 64, which would include myself and others clearly, most of their votings were cast for Republicans. There clearly is not only an age difference here, but there's also a worldview difference here. And I'm going to give you the detail of that worldview in a minute. The oldest demographic, those 65 and older, accounted for 28% of the electorate and supported Democrats 43% of the time and Republicans 55% of the time. Though the 18 to 29 age group accounted for the smallest share of the electorate compared to the other age demographics, they were the most unified in their support of the Democrats. Now, why were they so unified in that? We'll find out. With no other age group voting for either party at such a high margin. More specifically, those between the ages of 18 and 24, which accounted for 7% of the electorate, supported the Democrats by a margin of 61 to 36%. Those between 25 and 29, 6% of the electorate, favored the Democrats by an even higher margin, with 65% of them voting for Democrats and only 33% going for Republicans. See the age difference here? The 18 to 29 age group differed significantly when the age group was broken down by racial demographic, though all racial demographics within the age group preferred the Democrats. Now watch this. White voters between the ages of 18 to 29, 8% of the electorate, had by far the highest support for Republicans, but they still supported Democrats over Republicans by a wide margin, 58 to 40%. Latino voters between the ages of 18 and 29, 3% of the electorate, supported Democrats 68 to 30%, Meanwhile, here we go. And this is always the case. This always seems to be the case. Black voters ages 18 to 29 accounted for just 1% of the electorate, but supported Democrats overwhelmingly, 89% to 9%. Wow. What's going on here? Now, with the blacks, I'm not surprised with that, because blacks overall, regardless of the age range, vote significantly higher in the Democratic, they vote Democrat significantly higher than all the other ethnic groups in the country anyway. It's almost automatic with black people. I mean, I'm not trying to be, I'm black myself, but it is what it is. It's almost automatic with them. They vote Democrat anyway. So I'm not going to even bother to even talk about that. Because in my opinion, I already know what the reasons are. And I've said it in the previous video, and it's not what we're going to get into here. What I want to explain to you is why I believe that there wasn't a red wave. And that part of the reason why there wasn't a red wave was because this age range from 18 to 29 voted significantly for the Democratic Party. And that may have been, I'm just giving you my opinion, this is a theory, that may have been why the red wave was kind of trickled and someone put a wall up there. It was this age range. Now the question is, why? And I believe that the reason why so many millennials and Generation Xers, if you will, and Generation Zs and Generation Xers, if you will, are voting so high in the Democratic field is because they have been indoctrinated to do so. Now you may be asking, what do I mean? Look at the school systems. There was a study that was conducted back in the 1980s, that stated that over 80% of the news reporters, journalists, and school teachers are Democrat or liberal bias. And I talked about this in the previous video, that when the Frankfurt School Marxists infiltrated the school systems, came from Germany in the 1930s and infiltrated the school systems, and it really kicked up in the 1960s in a so-called countercultural revolution, which was nothing more than a major, gigantic mind control experiment, but it's another story and I digress. When they infiltrated the school systems, okay, they infiltrated the school systems with liberal ideology. The liberal worldview is closely akin or connected to the Democratic worldview. Now, they're not completely the same, because the Democrats, liberals, Democrats, and socialists are two different concepts, but they're similar in their worldview in the sense that the Democrats want big government and the liberals and the socialists want big government. Okay? So when you have these kind of teachers and professors in the school systems from kindergarten to 12 and on college campuses and universities pushing this kind of worldview to people, for young people from the ages of 18 to 29 who obviously clearly are in the universities, what do you think they're going to what do you think they're going to do when they get out? When they graduate, they're going to vote what? They're going to vote liberal, i.e. Democrat. And that's why they're being indoctrinated to think liberal, to see the world from a democratic, socialist worldview. They're being indoctrinated with socialist ideology, and they're being told that capitalism is not the way to go. But the way to go for America is socialism. And as I said before, socialism is closely akin to the Democratic Party. They're different because if they were the same, the Squad, whom I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with, the 4 individual females that are basically socialists and communists. You got AOC, you got Ilmar, whatever the other lady's name is. You have that one lady that's a Muslim. Okay, these are radical individuals. Okay, now when I say Muslim, I'm not saying that for all Muslims. I'm saying this particular woman is a Muslim. So let you know, not hating, just telling you what it is. They're known as the Squad. Their views are very radical and very far left, and many of the Democrats in the Democratic Party don't want to be a part of them. They don't want to be associated with socialism because those views are so far left that they're like, we don't want to deal with that. But the Squad has great intensive influence on the Democratic Party. But they're not the same. Okay? Having said that, they do have influence on the policies of the Democratic Party. And because of this influence, that they have, that influence is rubbing off on a lot of Democrats. And many Democrats are beginning to believe that socialism is the answer for America. So you have college professors and school teachers pushing socialist ideologies to the young people in the college campuses. So the young people get these kind of worldviews. They take these worldviews home with them. And when it comes time to vote, that's where they vote. So that's why we didn't have the red wave, in my opinion. So the question is this: how do the Republican Party deal with this? I said this in a previous video. I asked the question about changing up their campaign strategy. What disturbs me or disappointed me with the Republican Party is the fact that they did not use a strategy to attract the Generation Xers and the millennials. They didn't use a strategy to try to get a hold of them. It was almost like they said, well, forget about them. We're not going to worry about them. They're a smaller demographic anyway, so we're not going to worry about them. But what makes you think that over 63% of them voted Democrat? What makes you think that they didn't have a significant basis for why there wasn't a red wave? Had the Republicans created a campaign strategy to attract these young people, they might have started thinking more towards the Republican Party and may have cast their votes in that way. But you just got to change your strategy. It can be done. It can be done. It can be done. So I'm hoping that the Republicans see their mistakes and perhaps see this as a reason, or at least one of the reasons why they didn't really get to where they wanted to be. They didn't attract the attention of the millennials and the Generation Zs and the Generation Xers. They didn't attract their attention. And they allowed this indoctrination from the school systems and the college campuses and the professors to push this idea into their minds. So when it came time to vote, that's what they voted for, the Democratic Party. Why? Because the Democratic Party's ideologies and worldviews are similar to the socialist worldview. So that's what I believe the case may be. So hopefully going into the future, Republicans will think bigger. They will start using some type of a marketing campaign or whatever to attract these younger people, to show them that you're not doing the wrong thing by voting Republican, that the Republican Party is not racist. Forget about all that. I'm not saying that darn need racist people in the Republican Party, but come on now. Do your own research. A lot of these young people are being indoctrinated and they don't go no further than what their professor tell them. Do your own research. Read some books. Open up a book and see what's really going on so that you can know the bigger picture. It's not really complicated. It's really not. It's not a revelation. All it is to read, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Just saying. So that's what I think what the deal is. That's my opinion. And what is you guys' opinion on this? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. God bless you all and see you again.